Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Ciel de Guglielmo. My guest on the podcast today is Nina Zhelev, founder of My Shade Kit. She has years of knowledge and experience in both pattern making and design and fabrication, and we'll talk about her work in the industry where she was selling pattern making software. She has operated a comprehensive drapery workroom for many years, offering design, fabric, specialty hardware systems, components, and installation. Her business practices were grounded in honesty and integrity, which led her to much success expanding her network and developing relationships. You may have even seen some of her window treatment designs on the hit HGTV show, Love It or List It. Nina understands the needs and demands of the industry, and she built My Shade Kit to provide the market with an innovative and efficient solution for custom shades. She continues to operate with the same principles applied in her past business and promises to deliver excellence with every order. I hope you enjoy hearing from Nina today. Nina, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. You're such a busy woman. I'm really flattered that you're taking the time to talk with me today.
True, but of course, it's entirely my pleasure.
So I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and where you are in the world, and a little bit about your business.
Well, my name is Nina Zhelev. I was born and raised in Bulgaria. My husband and I came here 20 years ago because he had a dream. We fulfilled that dream today. And so I've always been involved in the textile industry. I have long experience in various fields within the entire industry, starting with pattern making, manufacturing, product development, etc. And I've always had these sidekick for draperies.
Okay.
And so one thing led to another. And in 2020, we started My Shade Kit as intend to serve small workrooms like ours with headrails, because all of a sudden Roman shades became very popular item, and there was this new vendor on the market that wasn't very well presented, and so I chased them for quite some time until they agreed to give me a shot, and this is how we started the business in a nutshell.
So when you came here, first of all, you're coming to a new country with a new language, and you have to learn that. And you're trying to start a business while starting a whole new life and learning a whole new language. What were some of those challenges like for you?
It wasn't exactly like that, because first, pretty much everybody in our part of the world speaks English. And then secondly, I've always worked for foreign companies and was one of these very few lucky people that didn't have to learn new skills or new trades, not even new language when I came to this country, because I worked for a software company serving textile industry in Bulgaria. And when my husband and I came to the States, miraculously, for me, I was offered a position in the same company that I worked for.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I offered the same position that I held in Bulgaria. So I was working with the same software, the same products, same language, only different locations. So it was really, really very smooth transition for me. And I couldn't be more thankful and blessed for what path I had to go.
Okay. It's always been fascinating to me how so many countries, students learn English as a second language very young. And in the United States, we don't really start teaching a second language of their choice until middle school. And at that point, it's not as intuitive to so many of us. And I hadn't realized what a challenge it was until I went to visit my aunt in Germany, and she was taking German as a second language. And she was explaining to me that sometimes she had to think it through in English before she could say it in German. And she said she felt like she had really captured the language when she was actually thinking in German. But she said living there made a big difference in how she was able to speak the language and communicate with people.
I couldn't agree more with that statement. First of all, I was going to mention the same thing. You start to feel confident with one language when you start thinking in your head in the language, and that already happened to me. And then, secondly, of course, living in environment where everybody speaks that language helps tremendously. And although I mentioned that I knew English, I said that very loosely today, because when from today's perspective, I thought I knew English back then, but it was really, really hard because, it makes huge difference when you're taught to speak language by somebody that's not native.
Right.
They don't tell you all the day-to-day expressions and stuff like that. So I remember one of my first visits in, I believe it was Boston, and we were asking for directions, and they said 2 blocks away. And I'm like, what in the world is a block? So I was starting picturing geometrical figures and whatnot. And so I didn't know that it means from street to street. And
also accents. I mean, you're talking Boston. I'm from the Philadelphia area. We have terrible accents here. And not only that, it's learning a language and being able to look at words and know what they mean is so totally different than speaking with someone. And I know there are parts of this country where people speak very quickly, and it's a little difficult to keep up. Under the best of circumstances.
One of my first experiences in that department was I just started that job, and I was an application specialist. I was involved with training new customers and implementation of the software. It's a pattern making software, digital pattern making. And I had my very first training with 3 gentlemen from Texas.
Oh my.
I know. And I started explaining functionality and stuff like that. And they said, like 15 minutes within, they said, stop. That's not going to work like that. We need translator. I'm like, oh, God. So my boss stepped in and said, okay, I will stay behind you and help you with some pronunciation and some words that they cannot, because those people from Texas, you know how they're a little bit,
they definitely have more of a twang to their accent. And they're, as a Northerner, people who are below the Mason-Dixon line also speak much differently than we do further up north. So big differences.
One thing I have to say, if you go to Europe, like, for example, my country, and you start a job that requires speaking and writing in English, and if you say something wrong, they will always correct you. Oh, you're not supposed to say it like that. It's pronounced like this and such and so. Here, I've never felt mistreated for my pronunciation, for my accent, or anything like that. I always, wherever I gone, I felt so welcome. And so the people are really, really tolerant here. They're not trying to correct you, which sometimes works against my improvement, my language improvement. And a lot of times I had to ask them, please correct me if I don't say something right. Please correct me. But they don't want to hurt your feelings. And all in all, American people are really, really nice and tolerant people. That's all I can say.
Oh, I'm glad you've had that experience. So you're working for the pattern company, and you and your husband had this dream to open
Start our family here. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me how that evolved.
We were looking for a way to establish ourselves here. And we started as working on a cruise ship. My husband and I worked on a cruise ship, but that was a temporary solution. And we wanted to find the legal and right way to do to stay permanently in the country. And we were in Florida at the time, and there was this textile show. I think it was called Material World.
Okay.
And I went to, I saw on the brochure that the German company I was working for in Bulgaria was going to exhibit. So I decided to go and say hello. And I went there. I was already 8 months pregnant with my first, and just decided to drop a CV. And I did. I was asking for possibilities and working opportunities in Florida. And they said, well, unfortunately, we don't have any customers here, but we'll keep an eye. Just leave your CV and things like that. 6 months later, I received this call, and they said, hey, this is this and that from this and that company. Are you still interested in position with us? I was actually looking for a position within their clients. I couldn't even dream about having position with them. But they said, we have an opening, but it's in North Carolina. Do you want to come and check it out? And I said, yes, why not? So I came to check it in. And, well, it looked like I liked the conditions and everything. And the company offered sponsorship for green card through employment. And that was literally what we were dreaming of.
Right.
So my husband and I packed our stuff, which wasn't that much 10 years ago, and moved to North Carolina with the intention to stay until we get the green cards and then go back to Florida. But I remember talking in the beginning with one of my colleagues, and they said, this is a great position you're getting because you get to travel a lot in the country. You get to see a lot of different states and cities and places. And but let me tell you something, wherever you go, you come back here, you would not find a better place than this. And I'm like, oh no, I didn't like it from the very beginning. No. They're all hills and stuff like that. And this is before GPS era. So if you have to go from point A to point B, you need to print out MapQuest and follow the signs. But everything is in hills here. And some of the roads are going in a circle. So you cross one road and 15 minutes later, you cross the same road and and you go like, oh, am I lost? Or something like that. So it was really different environment for me. And the more I traveled, for the next 15 years, the more I started to loving this place. It resembles a lot the nature in our own country.
Okay.
We have 4 seasons, but none of these 4 seasons are any extreme. Like we don't have heavy snow, if we have any. We don't have a very hot summer. And it's pretty much green the entire time of the year. Okay. And we have a lot of blooming trees. So it is really pretty and also very safe. We also are surrounded with very nice, good schools for the kids. And this is something that I wasn't thinking back then about. But as kids grew older, we decided to stay here.
Okay. So you're working for this pattern software company and you've moved to North Carolina. How do you decide to open a workroom and make custom window treatments? And then how did you end up working for My Shade Kit?
We started the workroom back in 2009 as a side gig because I've always had passion for sewing. And one thing I cannot imagine my life without is a sewing machine.
Okay.
I have a very strong relationship with all my sewing machines, and I love them a lot.
Do you name them?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And so at some point, I started as helping a fabric store. They had small jobs in the beginning, like small balances, kilos and stuff like that, because I was doing that at home, and we were raising 2 toddlers, so it wasn't that, comfortable. But they were very happy with my quality, and they started giving me more and more projects, and it turned out to a point where I couldn't handle that anymore in the house, and we decided that we need a workroom,
some space.
Right. And so we started looking for rental flex spaces, and we found one. And in the meantime, I simply like to search. Nowadays it's marketplace, but back then it was just a Craigslist. And we found this workroom table for sale on Craigslist.
Okay.
And I looked at it and told my husband, look how, well, that was the very first time I saw a table like that.
Okay.
We didn't have those in Europe. And I was like, it's going to be really nice to have one of these, but we didn't have room to place to put it in. And he said, you know what, these deals come very randomly, so why don't we invest in that table? We can store it somewhere, and once we find a space, we can move it there. And this is what we did. We had the table for about half a year with a friend of mine in her basement, and once we found a right location, we set it up there, and it was like I was reborn all over again. We started collecting industrial sewing machines pretty quickly and equipping our place. And this is how we started with the workroom.
Okay.
Jobs kept going bigger and bigger. And I was doing that simultaneously while working full time, traveling around the country.
Oh, my goodness.
And
raising 2 small children.
Yes, correct. We had a little couch, a pull-out couch in the office, and they spent numerous nights there. And at one point, when the economy started to struggle, a lot of those textile companies, apparel companies that were our clients, started shutting down. And the volume of my work was drastically decreasing. And my position wasn't challenged, but I am a person that likes to be challenged. Okay. It was very low, and I didn't feel like I'm giving all of my capacity, and I wasn't very happy with that. So I called myself one day. Facebook was booming at the time, and I started following several professional groups. I was fascinated with Roman shades from the very beginning, and there was this class that Penny, what was her last name? Penny Bruce was going to give at the conference. I don't remember the year, but it was like maybe 2015, 16 or so. Okay. And I read about that class, but it was like $500, something like that. I was like, oh, well, this is very unaffordable for me. So unfortunately, I cannot afford that. But I can trace down every post of hers to figure out their method. And I did, because she would post a little bit of that task today and then something else then the following week and stuff like that. And I started putting pieces together. And believe it or not, I put up the puzzle. And And I started making the shades using her method. And then little by little, I was so much caught up on those groups. One day, I was sitting on my desk and caught myself staring at these posts like for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, Nina, what in the world are you doing? If you're not happy here and your mind is somewhere else, this is what you should be doing, because the motto of my life has always been, you have to do what you do the best. You find the skills that you're performing to the best of your abilities and turn that into your profession.
Okay.
And for a very long time, the pattern making and teaching people how to do that was my passion. I enjoyed it so much, but now little by little, this was taking shifts.
Okay.
And so I decided to quit and dedicate my entire time to the workroom business. So this is how Novel Design was born.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe 3-4 years later, we were hit by another disaster, the lockdowns. And right at that time, the fall before that, I believe it was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. When I went to my first conference workroom.
Okay.
It was in Charlotte. And I met those people, the VAKO people there. As soon as we walked into the hall, there was their stand. And the first thing that I noticed there was a drum, a Romache drum with 2 spools, double spool drum.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I've been trying to invent something like that because I liked those shades that have face in the front and independent black outlining at the back.
Right.
But I couldn't find a solution for the hardware other than having 2 separate systems back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that and I said, oh, wait a minute. Let me ask you, what is this? And there was this very young gentleman that started explaining about the product. It wasn't yet released, but said this is in the works, and we intend to do this and that, and things like that. And I was really, really very impressed by the product,
Mm-hmm.
by the knowledge of this person, and by his age, because you don't see much young people in our industry, unfortunately, much less so knowledgeable. And we started talking. So we went, made a circle, checked the other booths, and then came back and kept talking to them and said, how can I get samples of you? So how can I get your products? And said, well, we have one distributor and this and that, you go to them. And they kept pushing me to that distributor and said, no, I want to talk directly to you.
Right.
So we came back home. They still pushed me away. And I started bombarding them with emails, telling them who am I, what I like to do, and consider myself a very techie person.
Right.
I like putting things together. I'm good with software. I'm good with sewing skills. So I think if you're looking for somebody to distribute those things, I am your perfect choice. I was very persistent, and finally that paid off. So they started talking to me, and they sent me some samples. And I remember the very first one that I put up together. I was super, super excited about the quality of the product, how quiet the system is, how easy it is to put in, how easy it is to operate, and everything, and how modern and sleek the look of those headrails was. And then, not to mention the variety of lift systems that you can put in the same headrail. That was another big advantage. And I said, well, now that I can start using those for my clients, it would be nice if I can offer that to other people, because I had several of my local chapter ladies here that most of them work at home, right? In the garages, bonus rooms, whatnot. And I had this commercial space where I could put more machinery, like miter saws and other heavy equipment that normally you don't have enough room for in your garage. And they started asking me if they could come and use my miter saw to cut their headrail and stuff like that. And I'm like, maybe there are a lot of people like that cannot afford that, and they want to order assembled headrails.
Right.
And this is how the idea for my shade kit came up to me, and I said this is who I want to help. So the business was catered to designed to cater those small workrooms.
Okay.
I never considered selling kits for DIY assembly. We only sell fully assembled kits. And then moving down the line, we started offering those in a different bigger programs for larger workrooms that would like to assemble and cut pieces on their side. But yeah, mainly, and that remains our main goal until today. We are catering the small workrooms.
Okay. I'm always amazed because I do not like to assemble headrails. I like to buy kits and just be done with it. I know how important it is that I understand how things work and how they're put together, but I can be very techie and I can be very mechanical, but when it comes to the headrails, I just want it to come to me completely ready to use and not have, and I've been in workrooms where they have all the parts of things and they have somebody there who can put them together without batting an eye. And I'm like, that's just not me. I like to, yep, that's what I want. Thank you very much. So that's awesome that you offer that. Now, are you still running your workroom at the same time?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's, I tried at one point to shut down the workroom services and concentrate only on the distribution, but it didn't work out well simply because my hands are itchy. I want to make stuff. I like sewing, so a lot of my days go like that. I go in the morning to the office and start answering emails, phone calls, and then start preparing shipments for the headrails. My UPS pickup comes at 3:30 or so, and just around 5 o'clock, everything comes down. The phone stops ringing. Nobody walks in the door, and I can go to my sewing room and dive into it.
Okay.
That's my own time and the time where I relax and I'm creative and enjoy simply what I'm doing.
Nina, I think that's one of the things about, when I thought about starting a business with skills that I had, sewing, people said to me, if you're running a business, you don't always get to do the thing that you love. You're running the business. And I'm always so happy that I get to talk with people who are still managing. Like when you said your hands are itchy, I know that feeling. And I love running the library and doing the podcast and doing the Drapery and Design Digital Digest. But sometimes my hands are itchy and I need to go into my workroom and make something, whether it's something for myself. I do still a little bit of work for some designers, but not like I used to. But I miss it when I don't do it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I'm so happy that it's still part of your life. But I'm curious how you manage the deadlines and the balancing of preparing things for customers that have to be sewn and also getting shade kits out for other workrooms, because you really understand their deadlines and the sense of urgency for them.
Yes. Well, one thing I could say for myself is when I commit to a deadline, I deliver. And my designers can confirm that it doesn't matter what costs me. I can still up all night long and deliver in the morning. If that's my deadline, I will. Mm-hmm. And I know, as you said, I know how important it is for the workrooms to follow through their schedule. So we try to keep up with our deadlines as well and always deliver on time. There have been maybe very few instances when I couldn't ship the goods on time. That because at some point we had those cases where we didn't have the raw materials. There was an issue with the international maritime shipment and stuff like that. And, circumstances that are out of our control.
Right.
But most of the time we have managed to deliver on time. We are currently running at 2 weeks turnaround time frame. And that gives us enough room to prepare everything, make sure that we have all the components and things like that, and ship on time. A big difference makes when you have the help that you need. And luckily for me, right now I have enough employees that are helping me stay on time, on my schedule. So, fingers crossed they stay with me. Right. And we keep doing the good job.
Okay.
But I have to say it's not easy managing all of that, because you said you're happy to, when you find somebody that is managing their business and stuff like that. Not so much about managing my business. I have to say I'm working in my business. Managing comes after hours. Okay. I wish I was a better manager than a worker. Okay. But I am a quality freak and have issues with delegating tasks.
Okay.
So even when I delegate something to somebody, I have to double check after them. Okay. Which is not the most pleasant thing, but I admit that for myself, and that's my weakness.
Okay. Nina, what have been some of the biggest challenges for you?
Up until today, the biggest challenge for me is the personnel.
Okay.
And I think that everybody would agree with me. It is, like I said in the beginning, this is an aging trade. I'm so very happy when I see a young person coming to our trade shows or other events. It's really refreshing to see somebody like that.
Agreed.
But we see those more and more rarely. Personally, is the biggest issue, because if you need skillful people to help you in the process. If they're skillful, they would prefer to run their own business. How would you blame that? And if they're not skillful, then they drag you down. I am really envy to the people that have a great team members and they stay with them. For me, that has always been an issue. We live in an area where one of the statistics says that we have the highest PhD per capita in the country. I don't know if that's true, but we live in an area where IT industry it's all over.
Okay.
So, like I said, the highest PhD. And it is really hard to find somebody in the big city to work with their hands. not out of their home. And yeah, so I partially blame that on the COVID era. We still pay the price for that period. It's going to be really hard to get people back to the workforce, unfortunately.
Right, right. Yeah, so many people have been so happy to be working at home that going back to work. But you're right, you can't have people working at home trying to create the things that we're doing. Yeah,
Right.
I feel the same way you do, though, when I go to, for instance, the Custom Workroom Conference and I see so many young faces now that it's just really uplifting to know that there's some hope there.
Yes, there is a hope.
Yeah.
There is a hope.
I want to jump in and take a moment to thank the sponsors who make it possible for me to bring you the podcast each week. My sponsors are people in the industry that I have personally had a connection to, purchased from, or used their services. So it makes it really easy for me to tell you about them and the great things that they have to offer. Because I feel so strongly about education in our industry, I'm thrilled that as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library, I can use the resources of the library to help support the podcast. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. Angels Linings would like to invite you to become part of their family. With reputable lining comes exceptional customer service. Trust them with your linings like I do. You get 2 Tootsie Pops with every bolt of lining you receive. For smiles, satisfaction, and a sugar kick all around, call Angels Linings at 1-800-450-9368. The Workroom channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. If you've listened to the podcast, you know how much I've learned from Michelle Williams. And I think most of my guests have mentioned taking at least one of her classes or gotten coaching from her. Her business is Scarlet Thread Consulting. Michelle loves to work with creative business owners to help them understand all aspects of their business and to use their gifts and talents to make it profitable. Michelle is a strategic profitability coach certified in the Profit First methodology, and she can be reached at scarletthreadconsulting.com. I've also mentioned my membership with the WCAA, and I'm now a gold level sponsor, where education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to our members. The Window Covering Association of America is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. I've also been extremely fortunate to be able to work with Merrill Y. Landis Ltd. It's a family-owned and operated custom workroom and product distribution company to the trade with over 70 years of experience. And in addition to their custom work, they offer a wide variety of decorative drapery hardware. They offer stout and flare 21 fabrics. They have Roman shade operating systems and assembly kits. They have motorization and workroom supplies, and they serve both designers and workrooms. And you can check out the MYL Advantage at myltd.com. Nina, have you ever considered quitting?
God, no.
I never know how anyone's going to answer that question.
No, not at all. That's not even on my mind.
Okay.
But I'm aware of those lessons, those classes that are offered. Maybe one of the next years I have to take one, because a friend of mine told me that when you start thinking about your quitting, you need to start preparing a couple of years in advance.
Yes.
It doesn't happen overnight, and you should take the proper steps. So I'm thinking about the classes only.
Janelle Deck did the workroom end game, and it was an excellent, I have to say, it was an excellent class.
Yes. I think I was on that.
Okay.
Yes, I was, yeah.
So what is your definition of success?
Success is to find what makes you feel happy, turn it into your job, and move along.
Okay.
I've always considered myself a very happy person for the fact that I love what I'm doing.
Okay.
I've always have. And I think that this is precursor to a success in your career.
Okay.
If you're not happy, if you find yourself that your mind is somewhere else, you should pursue that new venture.
Mm-hmm.
But staying in one place where you don't feel completely satisfied is something that eats you from inside little by little. Agreed. I've never been in those shoes.
Yeah, I agree with that. What would you say has been your greatest success so far?
I don't think that I have reached my greatest success yet.
Okay.
I have a lot of...
And based on your definition, I can appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. What happens when you make a mistake or encounter a failure? What? Because you said you're pretty particular. So I'm curious, how do you handle it for yourself, and how do you handle it for the people who work for you?
I've learned over the years not to get upset about those things. Maybe one thing that I learned from the COVID period was not having your drapes hung today is not a matter of life or death.
Agreed.
There are more important things in life. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's nice when you reach your goals professionally, mm-hmm. but you always have to prioritize in the right sequence. Like family should stay first, mm-hmm. and then is your job. Then your job is not the most important. The family should stay always first. And I say that from perspective of a person that has neglected her family a lot. I regretfully have to admit that. But back to your question, can you actually repeat it? Because I think I went sideways.
I wanted to know how you handle mistakes and failures.
Yes.
And how you handle them for people who work for you.
Like I said, I try not to get upset. I'm not upset. I can tear a thing like 3 times until I stitch it the right way.
Okay.
I did that just the other day because I was making one pillow with striped pillows where they want in cross pattern. So I had to match every single line. I did that 5 times until I was satisfied. And I do the same with my associates. I tell them, don't overreact over this. It happens. Mistakes are always happening. Luckily, everything could be fixed one way or another. Even if we have to buy the fabric all over again and pay for it, that's a calculated risk.
Okay.
Don't worry about that. Most important thing is that at the end, when it leaves my door, it's in perfect shape.
Okay.
And then, speaking of mistakes, I'm actually working right now on a class that I will be presenting on the next IWC show. It's called Whoopsies and How to Avoid Them.
Oh, what a good class.
Yeah, I was thinking about like, there are so many topics that we have touched with, classes for that, class for this and whatnot, but nobody talks about the ugly stuff. So
Okay.
why not talk about common mistakes and how to avoid them? Because I think that I have a lot to share in this department. Why? Because I have a long experience in apparel industry, in apparel technology, and a lot of those skills that are applicable to the apparel, I have applied to the workroom fabrication process. And a lot of those have helped me achieve the quality that I could deliver today.
Okay.
But they are not known to anybody, to everybody.
Okay.
So I want to see what challenges other people are facing, where they make mistakes, and I want to help them how to avoid those.
Okay.
So
Okay.
watch out for this class. It's going to be on the floor, so it's you don't have to sign for it. It's going to be the last day of the show. You can just come and join me.
Okay. I always think that it's challenging for those of us who are perfectionists to be able to have employees and be as kind to them as they deserve us to be. When I think I'm much harder on myself than I was ever for the person who worked for me. But it's very difficult to let go of, but still maintain, as you said, when it walks out the door, it has to be the level of quality that your company is known for.
Correct.
And that applies to the window treatments and it applies to the headrails that you're sending out.
Correct.
You have to be confident that they are working properly.
One thing that helps in this situation is I am very friendly with all my associates, but I always tell them I have a very definite line between professional and personal life. If I yell at you, which I do, in the workroom and it's work related, do not ever take that personally. I have nothing against your personality. It's not that. And I'm very critical the same way to myself. If I do something wrongly, I will not let it go. I will redo it again and again until it meets my expectations.
Okay.
I'm not critical to you only. I'm critical to me, to third parties, etc. But like I said, we split both things. Professional and personal are two different things.
Okay. So you have mentioned that you are pretty techie. What technology do you like using in your business?
I like learning new softwares, and I'm pretty fast at that. Right now, I'm learning Canva.
Okay.
This is a great tool that has endless possibilities.
Yes, it does. I love Canva.
Yeah. And I also utilize another tool for our online ordering. It is called, can I mention it?
Absolutely, because I put links to things that you talk about so people know.
It's called Blind Matrix, and it's a tool that's designed for blinds and hard goods retailers.
Okay.
But I convince those guys to customize the product to meet my own specs. And I helped a lot in the process. And I'm still configuring new products today myself. And I love doing this because it's a game of databases and tables and data pulled from here and there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's simply a game that I like.
Nina, I find it fascinating because I think for so many of us who are in this creative field that we tend to think of the technology as the other side of the brain. And many of us think, well, I'm creative, I can't do that. It has its own kind of creativity to it. And I'm fascinated when people in our industry are both creative with their hands, but also love spreadsheets and databases and making things work. I always find that fascinating.
Yeah, but you know how they say your left brain or right brain and
Right.
such. I divide people in two main categories. You're either artistically creative or you're technically creative. I am
Okay.
technically creative.
Okay.
And this is the reason why I started fabrication business and not designing business. I'm not a window treatments designer. I'm not interior designer.
Mhm.
Although I know a lot about the trade, but I am not, because I don't find myself creative with in that perspective. I am
Okay.
creative with finding the right technique to uh, to not create, but to manufacture the
Okay.
creation for my designers.
Okay, that's
And
interesting. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. I've often pushed back when people say, "Oh, you're so creative." And my thought is I can follow instructions and I can look at things and figure out how to make them, but I'm not necessarily the first person to say, "Oh, let me take some raw material and just create something out of it." I sort of need some directions or at least a little bit of guidelines for it. I'm curious about this because you said like when the office and everything quiets down, you go into your sewing room and that's your happy place. Are you sewing just window treatments or are you ever creating anything just for yourself?
um,
Do you make any more clothes or is that not part?
I used to make clothes back in the days, very rarely here, only for special events. Now my daughter is my main client, and I only
Okay.
make exceptions for her these days because I'm so overly busy with the designer projects that I don't have time for clothing.
Right.
But I do have a couple of dress forms in my studio with her sizing because
Okay.
she's in college, and when she orders something, I need to make it overnight the next day. So yeah, still love making clothes, but unfortunately, I don't have time for that.
Okay. All right. What is your favorite thing to make?
Aroma shades.
Okay, not surprised. And we should mention, I'll put links to this, but you have a course on the Workroom channel called the Shilly Shally Shade.
Yes.
And it's, I'll put a link to the course on the Workroom channel. There's also a preview video in a recent issue of the Drapery and Design Digital Digest that it's just fascinating to see how you came up with that. And it's such a great idea of being able to have a shade that's part sheer so that you can have daylight coming in. And then you have the blackout part of it that goes up and covers the window. So you have not only have privacy, but can block the light if you want to.
Correct. The idea came when we were told that there's going to be a new child safety standard,
Mm-hmm.
and we expected that they will ban all the exposed cords, which put the top down, bottom up shading jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
And top down, bottom up, a headrail was the star of VAKO products and my very favorite, because I still find that that's incredibly well engineered product.
Okay.
And I said, well, I don't want that thing to die. So what can I do to continue to comply with the new expected standard and yet use that system? And I
Okay.
thought to myself, what if I cover the exposed cords with sheared material? So that meets the requirements, and start experimenting with that. And this is how the idea was born. Then interesting history about the name. A lot of people are asking me, what exactly is Shili Shali?
Right.
And I wanted to resemble something that describes the moment when you have your mind split 50-50 in two different directions, and you don't know which one to what decision to take. And how would you describe that particular moment with one expression? And I started Googling and found that shili shali expression.
Okay.
The etymology is dating back to the ancient English. And shili shali means something, shall we, shall we do, shall we not, something like that. So it became shili shali. And I, like a foreigner and somebody that English is not their native language, I have to admit that I had to practice saying that fast shili shali shay.
So you love the name, but you had to practice it.
Well, yes, I did.
I love that. Well, we'll put links, as I said, I'll put links to the show notes so that you can either watch the preview or go right to the Workroom channel to find out more about it. What 3 business items could you not live without? And it could be workroom related or my shade related.
Sewing machine.
Okay.
Sharp scissors. And 2 pins. I usually have them here on my on my collar. And I looked at, I just took them down.
I saw your hand go to your chest, and I knew exactly what you were doing. You were looking for pins. Yeah. I've hugged a few people and hurt them because I forgot they were there.
Yes.
Nina, what do you do extremely well?
Work under pressure.
Okay. What do you not do so well?
Relaxing.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me.
For first time this year, I decided to not work through the Thanksgiving week. Well, we worked until Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days in a row. It was.
I just want to point out, you're making a face while you say that. You look so uncomfortable.
Yes.
Did you even enjoy the 4 days?
No. This morning I was in my car and I'm like, finally, Monday.
I do think that is a testament to how much you love your job, but I really wish people could have seen the expression on your face. I took 4 days off.
That never worked well for me.
What do you love best about this business?
The people. Unfortunate events made me realize how great our industry is. As you may know, I've shared that with everybody on Facebook. I tragically lost my husband a year and a half ago. He was 49 years old and died very unexpectedly by a heart attack. Nobody is prepared for that, even when you have a sick partner. But one thing that helped me go through that darkest period in my life is I was in the middle of a very large project for a showcase house. And when that happened, my designer came to my workroom and said, listen, abandon everything. I'll just pull out the project. No big deal. Take care of yourself. And I said, no, I took commitment. My husband wouldn't want me to fail. I'll complete the job. And that was very therapeutic for me, because I could isolate myself all by myself in the workroom, crying loud, talking to myself, all of that, and stay busy. The fact that I was busy with something that could redirect my mind, even for a fraction, to a different direction, was really helpful.
Okay.
And that's how I managed to go through. And then a couple of weeks later was the planned show in an IWC show in Charlotte. And I was supposed to give a class there, present a class, but I canceled it and decided to go. Even I didn't feel like I was ready to go back in field, but I forced myself to go. And everybody, absolutely everybody, people that I knew, people that I didn't know, people that knew me only by name, they came to me and offered me their condolences and support and lifted me up. I'm sorry, I can start crying now. They lifted me up so much that I couldn't be more thankful for the support and friendliness and everything that I received from these mostly ladies, but a lot of gentlemen as well. So I want to use the opportunity today and say big thank you to every one of you. Thank you.
Nina, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I have found the same thing to be true, that when you do let people in and let them know what's going on, they can be there for you. And it does not surprise me one bit that this industry in particular was comforting to you. I think and I have not experienced what you have, but when you experience a loss, it has come to my attention from people who have suffered a terrible loss. You approaching someone and saying, I'm thinking about you, or I'm sorry for your loss, does not remind that person of their loss. My brother lost his son, and as one of the things he said to me was, I'm never not thinking about him. So you bringing him up or you mentioning him doesn't remind me that he's gone. I never forget that. And he said, when you talk about him, it keeps him here. And I thought that was such a kind thing, because I sat down with him one day and I said, I don't know what you need, and I don't know how to talk to you, and I don't want to make you sad. He said, I'm already sad, but talking about him makes me happy. And I was grateful to him for that, to let me know that it was okay. And I think what you just did by sharing that is letting people know, because people don't know what to say. And
Right.
if someone doesn't know you well, they might think, oh, it's not my place, I shouldn't say anything. And everyone's different. Maybe not everyone would feel the same way, but I think for the most part, watching the people that I love who have lost someone, it means the world to them when their person is remembered and when they are supported in the grief that they're going through.
Right.
Nina, not everyone could have finished that job for the show home. But you are not the first person to tell me that being in their workroom and being alone was a way to grieve.
Yes.
And as much as we just said it was wonderful that people approached you and talked to you, sometimes you don't want to be around people. And yet you were busy. So you could keep physically moving, but it sounds to me like it helped you to process your grief. Not that we have a switch where suddenly we're not grieving anymore, but in those first days, especially to lose someone so unexpectedly, it doesn't matter if they're sick or not, but losing someone unexpectedly is really difficult.
Yes, it is.
I am so sorry that you went through that, but I am glad that you found the
Thank you.
support in the industry. I really am.
Thank you.
I often ask about resiliency, and listening to you talk about how you came from another country and had a dream and started a business. You're in that business and you lose your husband, and yet here you are still going. Do you think about being resilient? Do you?
No, it's just natural for me.
Yes. I didn't want to put those words in your mouth, but that's what I was thinking.
Here's something. When about us immigrants, you go to another country because you want a better life, bigger opportunity, and higher success. You don't go there for anything less. We are determined. We are determined to find those things because the only option for us is to succeed. There's no option of going back and giving up. That's not an option. It has never been.
Okay.
So I'm glad that I followed my husband's dream path. I found my own dream. I passed it on to my kids. And now, this year, I also became a U.S. citizen. So,
congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm really proud of that. And it's something that I have worked very hard for. And I proved that I really wanted it. And I think that I deserved it.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
I'm so happy to hear that. What about you would surprise people?
Oh, I think that I'm pretty much an open book.
I do hear that a lot.
I really don't know what.
Okay. There doesn't have to be an answer to that, especially there are people, I think, who are just themselves and open with people. And so I have gotten some unusual answers, but sometimes people just say, I think everybody knows everything about me. Nina, I'm going to put links to your website. Are you on Instagram and Facebook?
I am, yes.
Okay, I'll put links to that as well on the show notes. Before I let you go, could you please give the listeners some advice, whether it's someone new in this industry or someone who's been in this industry for a while, or both?
To everybody that's new in this industry, I give them the advice that I heard the very first show I went to when I entered the industry. And it was this: if you think that you need a commercial space and you think that you need 1,000 square feet, sign up for 2.
Oh, that's good.
Because you fill up those 1,000 square feet so fast and you run out of room pretty quick.
Okay.
This couldn't be more true. And then another advice that I also got in the very first of my career, sign up for any possible classes that you can afford, go to any shows that you could possibly go, sign up for membership in associations and other groups, do as much education as you could, because this helps you grow. I have not seen competition within our society. I'll call it society because I used to call it sisterhood, but a lot of gentlemen may find that offensive. So it is a society. So there is no real competition here. You and I may be in the same market, but you have your share, I have my share. And every time when I have been in need of advice or help or a hand, I've received that. Every time. You just post a question on one of the Facebook groups, you will find million answers, and nobody will come and criticize you for not knowing that or for asking stupid stuff or things like that. There is no such a thing. And this is the great the great thing about our industry. And this is why I love it so much.
Well, I think it's great advice to be going to the conferences, to be going to classes. I think that the education, no matter how long you've been doing this, there's always something else to learn.
Always, yeah. We keep learning every day.
Yeah.
This is something that I could not stop doing, because you realize that you're good in this profession when you realize how much you don't know.
Yes, I agree with that, Nina. This has been an absolute pleasure for me, Nina. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure is all mine, Seal, all mine.
Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed hearing from Nina today. I love how nuanced we all are, that she can be a perfectionist and she can be hard on herself, but she can also be kind to the people that she works with, and that she can separate personal from professional and be upset with something that happened during the workday, but be able to leave that alone. I'm not always so good at that. So I'm impressed that she's able to do it. I'm grateful to Nina for being able to talk about what it meant to lose her husband, but even more importantly, what it meant for her to have so much support from this industry. Almost every single person I speak to in this industry has been affected in a positive way by how generous their colleagues are. I also love that she talked about the lack of competition and that how we can all help each other, and that she's so willing to share. She has a class coming up at IWCE, and she has her course available on the Workroom channel. And she's sharing the things that she loves doing. And it is so clear from how she talks about what she does that she truly loves it. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Nina today. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.